The 2013 version of the Cincinnati Reds won 90 games and advanced to the playoffs for one wild-card game. But that's where their season ended. In October, the team named a new manager, but one with a familiar face. Elevated to manager from pitching coach, Brian Price has his focus on accountability from his players in 2014. Along with his business-like approach, the new skipper hopes his roster is bolstered by the return to full health of several key players and the stepping up of 3 homegrown products: a speedy leadoff hitter and center fielder, a battery mate for his young and talented pitching staff, and a young southpaw starter who rounds out the rotation. The sun is setting on spring training, and a new and promising season is dawning for the Cincinnati Reds. Coming to you from the Valley of the Sun, Arizona, the spring training home of the Cactus League. And more specifically, Goodyear, Arizona, the spring training home of the Cincinnati Reds. Hi everyone, I'm Jeff Piccoro, and welcome to Cincinnati Reds 2014 season preview. Over the next hour, we're going to tell you everything you need to know about the upcoming season and the Cincinnati Reds. And here's what's on tap. Aroldis Chapman's injury last week changes things in the bullpen right out of the gate. He's expected to recover, but he'll be out 6 to 8 weeks. Someone will need to step in as the Reds' closer. We'll discuss that. We'll go one-on-one with Reds first baseman and 4-time All-Star Joey Votto. And Red starter Homer Bailey will look back and analyze his second career no-hitter. We're going to talk plenty about the 2014 season, but to properly set things up, we first have to look back at year 2013. And things got very interesting from the start, right on opening day. In the third inning of the opener against the Angels, cleanup hitter Ryan Ludwig suffered a torn labrum while sliding into third base, head first.
They're going to call out Paul Lassard, the trainer. He is in some kind of pain down there at third base.
Not a good sign, Chris, the fact that he has not even lifted that thing from down on his side.
Brandon Phillips would be moved from the second spot in the batting order to fourth through late August and responded by driving in a career-high 103 runs. In mid-April, after a pep talk from guest bat boy Teddy Kramer, Todd Frazier slammed a 2-run home run to extend the Reds' lead to 11-1 in the 6th inning.
That ball clubbed into straightaway center field, hit a ton, and that one will fly out of here. And look at Teddy. Teddy's excited there with Todd Frazier. He's more excited than Todd is. That's as good as it gets right there.
On July 2nd, Homer Bailey tossed his second career no-hitter against the Giants at Great American Ballpark.
And Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed a no-hitter.
In early September, Billy Hamilton made his major league debut, appearing as a pinch runner.
Hamilton beat it for his first major league stolen base.
Of course, last season ended on a sour note with the loss to the Pittsburgh Pirates in the wild card game. And in the offseason, Walt Jocketty went out and fortified some areas of need for the Reds.
We also have made our bench stronger this year with guys like Pena and Schumacher, and see how the middle infield guys shake out, whether it's Santiago or Nelson or somebody like that. I think we're going to have a much stronger bench than we've had in the past. More depth. We have more depth in the organization at AAA if we do have some injuries this year, whether it's pitching or position players.
The so-called experts say beyond the an outstanding bullpen and beyond the starting 5 that you don't have the pitching depth. Are they not looking at the organization closely enough?
They haven't been. If they just watched some of the games, even last year and then even some this spring. I mean, we picked up a guy just before camp, Brett Marshall, who pitched great the other day, who will be a starter at AAA. David Holmberg will be at AAA. Stevenson will probably start the year at AA, and he's not far away. And we did sign Wong and Francis as depth guys at AAA. So I think the depth is there, and people sometimes it's easy to be critical when positive. So we try to stay positive here.
Well, we moved to the backfields here at the Goodyear Complex, and I'm joined now by the 1996 Rolaids Relief Man of the Year, Jeff Brantley from the Cincinnati Reds. And Jeff, we just heard General Manager Walt Jocketty talk about the offseason moves, and they didn't have to do a lot. But what they did is they got some quality depth, and that was really needed for this team, wasn't it?
Well, it was. I think Walt, going into the offseason, his biggest issue was to make sure that he took care of the bench. He wanted to strengthen the bench as much as possible. First thing he did was sign Skip Schumacher to a longer-term deal. Not only the fact that he can play center field and he can play all of the outfield positions, really, but he can play second base as well, but probably as much in the clubhouse for a guy like Skip Schumacher. With the vacation of Ryan Hannigan, you've got to have another catcher, and that's where Brian Pena comes in. Right now, the Reds are building from within. They're building from within their organization. They're putting Devin Mesoraco, who proved himself last year as an everyday catcher, behind the plate. They're going to put Tony Cingrani in the rotation, who takes over for Bronson Arroyo. And probably the biggest issue, and everyone's looking at this, is Billy Hamilton in center field. Fastest guy in baseball, creates havoc every single place that he goes. And I think that's the one thing that the Reds bring. 7 of 9 players on opening day are drafted and developed in this organization, will be standing out there on the field on opening day. I don't even think the mighty Cardinals can say that.
But one of the big moves in the offseason was a change at the top. A new coaching staff and a new manager. How does that affect this team?
Well, I think anytime that you change your manager, you change the coaching staff, obviously there are going to be some different thought processes. But you do have one constant, and that's Brian Price, that has been here throughout the time with a lot of these guys. I mean, this will be his 5th year in the organization. Brian has instant credibility, and I think that will translate not only to the coaches, but also to the players.
All right, let's talk about some of the other teams in the division. They've made some moves as well. Let's start with the St. Louis Cardinals. They lose one of their best players and clutch hitters in Carlos Beltran, but as you just said about the Reds, they've moved guys up from within.
Well, they have, and when you look at the Cardinals and you look at how many guys they have drafted and developed, they're probably tops of all of baseball. Reds right there at number 2 or number 3. But you look at Matt Adams, who the Reds saw last year, big slugger at first base. He's going to take over at first. They'll move Alan Craig, who was a big clutch hitter for the Cardinals last year, to right field. Where do you go to free agency? Right at shortstop, Johnny Peralta. Big hoopla about the steroid issue. Seems to be no big deal in St. Louis. Everybody put it under the rug. He's there to play. Not a whole lot of news there. But Peter Bourjos will now be out in center field sharing some time and fighting for time with John Jay. Those are the free agent moves there. Holliday obviously will still be out in left field. Matt Carpenter goes from second base over to third, and Colton Wong will now play second base. They've got a lot of shuffle. It's going to be different to see how all of that meshes with the Cardinals.
Well, it's been a long time since the Pirates made it to postseason. They did last year, but they lost a couple of their big guns. Morneau, Bird are gone, and maybe the biggest bullet they lose is A.J. Burnett out of that rotation.
Well, I think if you look at them overall pick, the Pirates last year, when they did make the moves for Justin Morneau and Marlon Byrd, it was kind of at the end of the season. The big gun I think that they will miss more than anything is A.J. Burnett, because pitching to me is what wins this division. And you've got Garrett Cole and you've got Francisco Liriano at the top of this Pirate rotation. That's a lot of pressure for a guy that had one good year in Francisco Liriano with the Pirates, and now Garrett Cole coming up. It could be a big push.
3 things baseball fans need to know about the Cincinnati Reds this year. 1, defensive positioning. You're going to see Brian Price and his staff move guys around a lot more than we've ever seen in the past. 2, ready to run. The Reds are going to run out of the gate, much like they did back in 2010. First to third, second to home. And 3rd, Billy Hamilton and Delino DeShields, the manager down in the minor leagues, in the offseason really took him under his wing. Jeff Brantley, let's talk first about the defensive positioning. How's that help a pitcher?
Well, Jeff, I think the biggest issue on the defensive positioning is it helps you, number one, because it puts you in tendencies where hitters hit. The biggest issue with that is for a pitcher and a catcher to make sure that they use that defensive positioning to their advantage. If they don't, then it's not going to matter. And that's the biggest issue that Brian faces. Okay, I've got to convince the pitchers that this is going to work. Number 2, this is going to be a very aggressive ball club. It's not just going to be Billy. It's going to be the rest of the ball players. They're going to be taking the extra brace. He wants them aggressive in every phase of the game, whether it's base running or whether it's in the outfield or whether it's at the plate. Very aggressive. The last one you talked about with Billy Hamilton and Delino DeShields, it's kind of like a father-son relationship. Delino took Billy aside, not just the work on the field, but sitting down, the talking about being a, quote, big leaguer. How do you handle the pressure? How do you handle the failures? How do you handle the highs? You've got to be able to stay right in a small box, but the biggest issue, hit the top of the ball and run. Use your God-given talents. Bunt the ball to first base. You can outrun them. That's the one thing Delino DeShields has brought for Billy Hamilton.
Stay with us. Coming up, you'll hear from Billy Hamilton.
It's like the big league. Like, it's something that you've been in the minor league working hard for, and you finally get that chance, and then you get up there, and it's in Cincinnati, which you have those great fans.
core group of players that we have currently in Cincinnati and ones coming up show good signs of things to continue to be good in Cincinnati as far as baseball is concerned. So that was another thing. I mean, I don't care how much money you're making, you know, some might disagree. Winning and being competitive on the field says a lot about, you know, happiness and where you're at.
The Bailey contract news came just prior to his scheduled arbitration hearing. Welcome back to the 2014 season preview of the Cincinnati Reds. A lot of new faces here in the Reds camp, and it starts at the top with new manager Bryan Price. He also brought in a new coaching staff, most notably his bench coach, longtime major leaguer Jay Bell, pitching coach Jeff Pico, hitting coach Don Long, and third base coach Steve Smith, and also a couple of newcomers that play significant roles as backups. Skip Schumacher can play second base, all the outfield spots, and switch hitting catcher Brian Pena. All right, Jeff Brantley, let's start with this coaching staff. What do they bring to this team?
Well, I think you have to start with the big man, which is Bryan Price. 14 years in the big leagues, all as a pitching coach. But I think the biggest issue for Bryan is he's been on this staff for the last 4 years. Instant credibility with the pitchers, and I think being here gives him credibility with the position players. Some people wonder about that because he's never managed before. Bryan Price, I'm telling you right now, he'll be the best prepared manager in the big leagues. He will keep the players accountable not only for themselves, but accountable for one another. That is a huge key. His coaching staff, all guys he has known, coached with before. Jeff Pico, Jay Bell, Don Long, Steve Smith, the third base coach. All of these guys will not change the players that are here for the Cincinnati Reds. They will use all of their tools to make them better. A different set of eyes pushing them in a positive direction.
All right, Jeff, let's talk now about the players, Schumacher and Pena. Why were they brought in here?
I think the big issue for Skip Schumacher, he's played for Walt Jocketty before. You know what you're getting for when you sign that contract and you bring him in. Not only does he play second base, he plays all the outfield positions, and he brings tremendous leadership into the locker room. Puts everybody in a positive direction. Same thing goes for Brian Pena. He'll take over for Hannigan behind the plate, but it'll be a different scenario for catching this year. We won't have personal catchers for every pitcher. Mesoraco will be the everyday guy. Brian Pena will be the backup. That's just the way it's going to be.
Well, that's a look at the new faces on the Reds roster, but now let's look at a guy who's in a new position. That is the leadoff spot and center fielder now, Billy Hamilton. We got a glimpse of him last year. Boy, could he run. He is taken to the spotlight this spring and is looking forward to the upcoming season. Let's get to know Billy Hamilton.
And there he goes. Pitch taken, and Hamilton beat it for his first Major League stolen base.
September was awesome, man. It was just, it was like something like, it's hard to explain, but it was amazing. It was just, it's like the big leagues. Like, it's something that you've been in the minor leagues working hard for, and you finally get that chance, and then you get up there, and it's in Cincinnati, which you have those great fans, and they're like all excited about everything. And it was just, at first I was nervous, you know, but then they calmed me down a little bit. But it was fun. It was amazing. This was something I've been dreaming of, like, since I was a little kid. I wanted to be in the big leagues, and my time is here, and I just gotta, don't take it for granted. I just gotta play my game and get better and just have fun with it. I can't put too much pressure on myself, but I feel like the point I'm at right now, I'm feeling good. He's been like my whole career. Like, he was one of the first guys I met when I was got up here, and he's managed me for 2 years, and he's just been had my back the whole time. He's really helped me with my overall game and everything. Well, I'm still here, my defense, my hitting, and my bunting. So he came out here early just to get some bunting and offensive work, and he really showed me the way of bunting right now. So I feel like my bunting game is going to be way better than it has been. So that's a big key of my success this year. So if I can get the bunting down, I feel like I'll be a good player.
A big part of spring training is physical preparation for the 162-game season. That responsibility falls in the hands of Reds' first-year strength and conditioning coordinator, Sean Marone.
Hey, here we go, shuffle, take it all the way up. Butt kicks, quick feet. Come over, we'll do our leg swings. Good rhythm, good arm swing coming over. Keep your feet flat and sink your hips. I see you.
Coming up on the Cincinnati Reds 2014 season preview, we'll hear from new manager Bryan Price.
I like playing the game. You know, being out of the game for an extended period of time last year, it was tough, you know. Kind of feel reborn, I guess you could say. Worked really hard, like I said, this off season. I've enjoyed every moment of the spring training, and I'm having a lot of fun.
Welcome back to the Cincinnati Reds 2014 season preview. Well, spring training is long and arduous, and all of the players come to spring training in great shape. But some have to work harder than others, and especially in the rooms behind me, the weight room and the training room, as they try to return from injuries and setbacks. As we've mentioned, Ryan Ludwig played only a couple of innings on opening day last year and did not return from his injury until August 12th. But it appears his power stroke has returned to 2012 form. Second baseman Brandon Phillips was hit on the left forearm by a pitch in early June last year. He was bothered by the injury the rest of the season. He looks to enter this season fully recovered. Right-handed reliever Jonathan Broxton is coming off season-ending forearm surgery from last August, and he pitched several innings this spring, but he will start on the disabled list. Southpaw reliever Sean Marshall will also start on the DL, having battled several injuries to his left shoulder from last season. Backup infielder Jack Hanahan had shoulder surgery as the season ended, and his 2014 debut will be delayed. Starting pitcher Matt Latos had bone spurs surgically removed from his right elbow in October, and this spring had minor surgery to repair a meniscus tear in his left knee. He may start on the disabled list. Infielder-outfielder Skip Schumacher left last Friday's game with a left shoulder injury after attempting to make a diving play. The newcomer will be on the DL to start the season. And last Wednesday, Aroldis Chapman was struck by a batted ball, resulting in fractures above his left eye and his nose. With a very mild concussion, but no other brain injury, and his eye is fine. A stunned crowd and the two teams watched as Chapman was carted off the field. This injury translates into some necessary shuffling of the bullpen, which we will discuss later in our season preview. Well, naturally, every manager would hope to open the season with a healthy 25-man roster, and Brian Price is no different. He's also very motivated for his first year as a manager of the Cincinnati Reds, and he's also very optimistic about his team's chances, as he tells Fox Sports Ohio's Jim Day.
You made a comment, a quote that I really like. You said, "We need to play with more of an edge." Can you explain what you meant by that and why?
Well, I think more than anything, you know, we know that we have a good team, and I think what really the difference between a good team and a great team and maybe winning a division or being a wild card team or just missing the playoffs are those games where you get out in front and you don't extend the lead. And I think at times when you extend the lead, and that could be through doing something productively offensively, it could be coming in a starter, not giving up a run or two to let the opponent back into a game, but maintaining and increasing the distance of the leads, so maybe we get into their bullpen earlier. Maybe we can beat up their bullpen. Maybe we don't give them as much optimism to think that they can get back into the games. It's the games where you have the lead, but then you stop scoring or you stop putting the pressure on the opponent that kind of invites them back into the game. And a handful of those games you end up losing.
You also said you'd like the team to run more. As a former pitcher, pitching coach, is it derived from the fact that a team that runs really disrupts a pitching staff?
Well, certainly that for sure. The second part is I think we have to find out who's capable. You know, we were a very aggressive base running club going back to the 2010 season. That wasn't necessarily compiling a ton of stolen bases, but a really good first to third, second to home team. Our secondary leads were good. We were aggressive on the bases. We took a few more risks. It certainly paid dividends. For me, I think there's guys here that would like to be somewhat liberated on the base paths, so we're going to utilize spring training to give them that freedom to run aggressively with the help of Billy Hatcher, Lee Tinsley, guys that can help with improve their base running, their base stealing. We're just giving them the opportunity to see what they have to offer us for the season.
Last year, certainly, and even the last few years, the Reds have been kind of the darling pick of the media and a lot of fans to not only win the division, but some people pick to win the World Series. This year kind of flying under the radar. Do you think that'll help this club at all?
I don't know if anyone pays much attention to it. You know, I think what we feel universally is that we have a very talented club, and I think when you can pitch through your rotation, if we can start the year healthy in our rotation and maintain our health out of the rotation and in our bullpen, we know we're going to be in every game. And you look at our batting order, we have a formidable middle of the order. We've got a table setter in Billy Hamilton. We've got a great situational player in Brandon Phillips. And we've got guys that we have great optimism in Frazier, Cozart, Mesoraco that can really provide more offense than they have. So we're optimistic that we can do everything that you need to do to win a championship. Now we have to seize the opportunity, we have to stay healthy, and we have to perform.
Well, obviously there's cause for optimism with any manager coming into the season as long as the team's healthy. But what does he mean by seizing the opportunity?
Well, if you're Brian Price, seizing the opportunity means getting into the playoffs and getting deep into the playoffs. This Reds club has been to the playoffs 2 of the last 3 years. They just haven't been deep into the playoffs. A veteran club, that's the reason they didn't go out and sign a bunch of big-name free agents on the everyday basis. They've played together a long time, these Reds have. There's big expectations for this club. Very young in the pitching staff, very veteran in the pitching staff, even though they're young. And everyday players, these guys have been together for a long time. When you talk about seizing the opportunity, that means winning in the regular season and getting to the postseason and going deep.
Stay with us. Coming up, we visit with Reds minor league hitter of the year, Jesse Winker.
Winning a championship. I mean, that's the bottom line. It really is. And I've been around long enough now to where, you know, I've seen a lot. I've seen good teams. I've seen bad teams, and we're a good team. We're a very, very good team, and I believe that we have the ability to be an excellent team and a great team, and that's what I expect.
Welcome back to the Cincinnati Reds 2014 season preview. Throughout this show, we previewed the Major League roster. Well, now it's time to take a look at one of the Reds' top prospects, outfielder Jesse Winker. Winker is a Jay Bruce clone. He also emulates Bruce and Joey Votto. Last year at Single-A Dayton, he hit .281, but he feels that he can do much, much better. With Fox Sports Ohio's Jim Day, it's Jesse Winker in our prospect preview.
2013 Reds minor league hitter of the year. What would that mean to you?
You know, what a big honor to receive that award, and it was just a fun year in Dayton, and learned a lot from our coaches and our players, and it meant a lot, you know, just to be rewarded for, it was just for a fun year, and, you know, I wish we could have made it to the playoffs, but, you know, at the end of it, you know, it is what it is. You hit
.338 in rookie ball and then .281 last year, 16 home runs, 76 runs batted in. Is that a satisfactory year for you, or do you think you can get those numbers up?
You know, I always think I can improve in all aspects of my game. Those numbers could always be better. You know, I want to do a lot of things. I want to strike out less. You know, of course, you want your average to be up, but, you know, sometimes the ball doesn't always fall. But, you know, this year, you know, a couple goals I have going into this year is just to continue doing what I'm doing and just having good at-bats.
Left-handed hitter, they talk about your power. They also talk about your plate discipline, strike zone discipline. Is that something you take pride in?
Take a lot of pride in strike zone discipline, you know, just battling the pitcher. And every time I go to the plate, I think of, like, you know, it's like it's a fight or a battle personally. And I get to, you know, go up against a good pitcher and, you know, try to beat him every time, you know. Even though that doesn't always happen, that's what I try to do. And, you know, every at-bat, I try not to take a pitch off as well. You know, I take a lot of pride in that.
You're a Florida guy. Is there someone in Major League Baseball you've grown up trying to emulate your game?
You know, it's kind of funny. 2 of the best lefty hitters are on the Reds, you know, with Votto and Bruce. So I always watch them. And then, you know, you have Robinson Cano and Josh Hamilton when he was in Texas. Those are always the guys I used to watch and, you know, kind of just do what they did and just try to piece that all together when I was younger. And I still watch them to this day, you know, and it's just cool getting to watch like Votto and Bruce, you know, go about their business every day.
You seem like a sponge for information. I saw you talking to Jay Bruce. You're talking hitting. What are some things you try to get from a guy like that?
You know, just his approach and how he goes hitting against lefties and righties and, you know, just different guys and, you know, just what he thinks. And because, you know, him and Votto are both just really, really good hitters. So I want to be like them one day. So I just try to pick their brain and just everything, you know, everything they say, I just try to learn from that.
This may seem like an obvious question, but I'd love to ask it to guys that are in the minor leagues. Obviously a dream to get to the big leagues. What would it mean to you to fulfill that dream?
Well, that's a dream come true. And that's what you dream about your whole life as a kid. You know, you watch the guys on TV and just how much fun it is. But, you know, I think it'd be pretty cool to not only be in the big leagues, but win a World Series and maybe one day be in the Hall of Fame too.
What is it that they've told you things that you need to work on?
All around game and just getting better defensively, you know, hitting as well and base running. just becoming a complete player. You know, you just don't want to be one-dimensional. You want to be able to, you know, play good defense, you know, make good reads on the base paths and continue to hit.
You were a supplemental first-round pick. Any pressure that comes along with that? Because, you know, there's a lot of minor league guys, and there's a few guys that stand out, and a few guys they really have high expectations for. Any pressure at all, you feel?
No pressure. You know, every day I get to go out and play the game of baseball, so if you feel pressure, you know, that's kind of unnecessary. You know, you're just playing the game you love every day, so it's just a lot of fun.
Well, as a former pitcher, Jeff Brantley, you've got to be excited about the prospects that the Reds have in their minor league system, and it's been fun watching these guys develop.
It has been fun to watch them. Even with that, the Reds added David Holmberg in the trade for Ryan Hannigan this offseason. They've also got their minor league pitcher of the year who's very close to big league ready in Robert Stevenson, triple-digit right-hander. There's not too many of those guys out there. And I think the guy that I really like to watch the most is Michael Lorenzen. Out of Cal State Fullerton, he's only been in the organization for 1 year, but his mound presence, his moxie, he's just got something that makes me love him.
All right, let's talk now about the Red staff. They're 13 deep, and there's not a whole lot of wiggle room there, is there?
No, and that makes it tough for a prospect, and it actually gives the Reds a chance to develop those guys longer. When you talk about your oldest guy in your rotation, Johnny Cueto, at 28 years old, he's got 6 years in the big leagues. Then Homer Bailey, the likes of Matt Latos and Mike Leake, all of those guys have 4+ years in the big leagues, and they've proven they're winners. Then you add Tony Cingrani, who had 2 times last year where he struck out 11 batters.
Well, as you know, Jeff, last week Aroldis Chapman was struck in the head by that batted ball. Resulted in fractures above his left eye and his nose, and he also had a very mild concussion, but no other brain injury, and his eye is fine. That's the good news. And Chapman's expected to recover and return to the mound this season, but he's not going to throw for probably 6 to 8 weeks. So, as a result, Brian Price is going to have to shuffle his bullpen. So, Jeff, your thoughts on the Chapman injury and really Brian Price's options for a closer?
For the Reds, 2 thoughts come to mind. Number 1, the health of Chapman, and number 2, who's going to close. For Chapman, he's got 3 stages of recovery. Number 1, he's got to recover from the surgical process. Then he's got to get back into Major League Baseball pitching shape. And probably the biggest hurdle he has to overcome will be the mental issue after getting hit in the head on the mound with the baseball. For the Reds, who's going to close? It won't be Jonathan Broxton. He's going to start the season on the disabled list. Sam LeCure, J.J. Hoover, the most likely choices. LeCure with his best season last year in 63 ball games, a 2.66 ERA. J.J. Hoover, some predict, could be the closer of the future. 69 games, a 2.86 ERA. Both guys tremendous years last year, and I believe it'll be a combination of the two.
Billy Hamilton's been one of the focal points of spring training for the Cincinnati Reds, and he's garnered a lot of national attention, as evidenced by Ken Rosenthal, the MLB on Fox insider, in his Rosenthal report.
It might not be a stretch to say that the Reds season hinges on Billy Hamilton. If Hamilton proves to be an offensive wrecking ball, and he could very well be that even with a relatively low on-base percentage, then the loss of Shin-Soo Choo won't be as significant as many of us fear. But if Hamilton does not produce, the offense could be a real issue. Remember, Choo helped the Reds improve from 9th in the NL in runs in 2012 to 3rd in 2013. And beyond Joey Votto, Jay Bruce, and possibly Brandon Phillips, the Reds lack impact hitters. The pitching, though, should again be quite good. I like Tony Cingrani as a replacement for Bronson Arroyo in the rotation. Still, it all comes back to Hamilton at the top of the order. The Reds could be a playoff team if everything clicks, but I'm not sure that they're better than the Pirates, and I certainly do not see them catching the Cardinals.
Billy Hamilton's hitting coach this season will be new hire Don Long. And as offensive expectations are high for the Reds, Coach Long reminds us that practice makes perfect.
That's why practice is so important. If I practice the right way, I go to the game and I just play the game.
Coming up, we go one-on-one with Joey Votto.
Everybody's selfish. Every single one of us is selfish, and you should be. You should be, because this is a one-on-one game.
division got a lot better and was good last year. I mean, I think the Cardinals are good every year, but the emergence of the Pirates and even the other teams, the Brewers and the Cubs, are getting a lot better. So I think it might help us to be kind of under the radar a little bit again.
Chris Heisey enjoyed a good spring, placing him in the conversation about an improved bench, or possibly an outfielder who can provide some offensive punch to complement the likes of Bruce and Votto. Welcome back to the Cincinnati Reds 2014 season preview. Well, the face of this Reds club is all-star first baseman Joey Votto. He takes nothing for granted, and every single at-bat counts to him. While speaking with Fox Sports Ohio's Chris Welsh, Votto seems surprised that the fans questioned his numbers of last season. Here's Joey Votto with Chris Welsh in our one-on-one.
I think the thing I get a bit surprised about is that we're doing a lot of winning here. I understand that the playoffs haven't been so good. And that'll change at some point. That'll change at some point. But getting on base is part of my gig. But I also do some other things, and those other things I think get discredited at times, or at least not acknowledged. And that's part of it. People have a tendency to write whatever they want to come up with to paint a certain player.
You never seem like you give up in a bat. And what impresses me really about you is it doesn't matter what the score or the situation is. I mean, you're grinding against the pitcher. It's really a one-on-one thing. And as a former pitcher, I mean, I kind of felt the same way, although it's so easy to give up on certain at-bats and let them go. And that's one reason why you're such a good clutch hitter. Can you teach yourself to be clutch by maybe concentrating a little bit more?
No, if you're concentrating more during that at-bat, then what the heck are you doing the rest of the at-bats? I played enough now where I've seen 10-2 comebacks, and I've seen games in the bottom of the ninth inning where you think the game's done and you're up by 4, and all of a sudden it's a tie ball game and you're saying, what the heck is going on? I've seen 5-4 games where you maybe should have gotten that extra run and made it a tie ball game and played extra innings. So I've seen them all and had a lot of regrets, and over time I've realized, you can't give anything away. You owe it to the team, you owe it to yourself. And then I've looked up at the end of the season and seen a 297 and thought, maybe a couple of hits I would have hit 300. If I'd done this, I would have finished off a little stronger. So those are the things that I think about. But first and foremost, it's an obligation you have to the team. The game is never done until it's done. And I think it's really important to finish off every game and any opportunity you have to do as well as you can, and hopefully the team receives the benefit from that.
It's interesting you keep coming back to team, and I love that. But do you feel like an obligation, as a senior statesman on this team, as one of the superstar players, to kind of communicate that same thing to your teammates so that they get it too? I mean, you've got to sit on the bench sometimes and you're watching a bat and you say, gee, he just needs to grind a little bit more. Do you ever take it upon yourself and say, I'm going to talk to him about that?
Yeah, I try to catch myself anytime I talk about or think about another player. Everybody's trying their best out there. I just always assume everyone's trying to do their best, and if everyone's trying to do the best, they're trying to win. I don't buy into a lot of the attitudes, a guy plays a certain way, so he's selfish. Everybody's selfish. Every single one of us is selfish, and you should be. You should be, because this is a one-on-one game. Everything is one-on-one. This is not as much of a team game as people think, and that's okay. It's team clubhouse, team bench, team cheering for each other, but everything's a one-on-one battle, and you have to execute whatever you have to execute and hand it off to the next person. And so, for me personally, if a guy is selfish, that's just telling me he's trying his best for the team.
Selfish? So is that good or bad?
Jeff, I think every player has a little bit of selfishness in them, especially the great players. It's that deep, burning desire to be the best. Selfish, not in a team sense, but in the moment sense.
All right, we kind of know what Joey Votto's doing from the back of his baseball card, but there was a big hole in left field last year and a lack of power on this team. Where's power going to come from?
Well, I think if you ask Brian Price, Jeff, you look around this ball club, you look at Devin Mesoraco behind the plate, he's going to give you some power numbers. Expectations are big there. Ludwig especially out in left field. But I think when you really talk about power numbers, they come from Votto, they come from Bruce, and they come from Brandon Phillips, and especially this year, Todd Frazier.
All right, you've already talked a little bit about Devin Mesoraco, but what about the makeup of this team? They're kind of strong but young up the middle, aren't they?
Well, they are. You got Billy Hamilton in center field, and that's a big issue for this ball club. He's going to really have to provide a lot of spark for this club to be what everyone expects him to be, and that's to catch the Cardinals. But I think a big issue for this club is going to be Mesoraco behind the plate, how he handles this pitching staff, if he handles it the way that Ryan Hannigan did.
Of course, very good in that middle with the second base and shortstop, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. These guys have turned great double plays, really starting to do the things that Brian Price expects them to do.
All right, another feature. I know you're going to love this. We call it the Best of Phantom Cam. Coming up, Homer Bailey relives his 2013 no-hitter, the second of his career. Then we'll have some final thoughts and predictions. Under the desert sun, spring training is winding down at the Reds training complex in Goodyear, Arizona. Welcome back to the Cincinnati Reds 2014 season preview. Homer Bailey is a key to the Reds rotation and to the Reds' success this year. In back-to-back seasons, Bailey threw a no-hitter. Jim Day from Fox Sports Ohio caught up to Bailey, and they analyzed last year's no-hitter against the San Francisco Giants.
All right, Homer Bailey now, all eyes on him. Starting to feel a little buzz around the ballpark. 1-2. Perfect through 6.
I felt pretty good that night. Yeah, I mean, even from the very beginning, which is rare. Usually it takes me 4 or 5 innings before I can really kind of get loose. That night just came out of the gates feeling pretty good.
All right, here's the 7th inning. Now, this is Buster Posey. This is eventually going to be the play of the game.
Broken back. Bailey better get to the bag. And they throw to third. And how about the move by Votto? They get the out at third. What a play by Votto. It really was the only play that he had.
Here's why I didn't get there. To me, I'm thinking the ball should be caught in the air. So they were like, well, he was late getting the bag. And I was like, I was still ahead of Posey. But I pulled up looking at, thinking, good God, what is Joey doing now?
Crowd rises as one. No hits through 7.
I was trying to kind of stay collected, you know, and keep reiterating, just keep doing what you're doing, you know, and just stay very one pitch at a time. And literally, that's all I was thinking about.
26 pitchers in the history of Major League Baseball have thrown multiple no-hitters.
I mean, I wasn't really thinking about a no-hitter or anything like that until I think I walked out there for the 9th and just kind of laughed and was like, well, here we go again.
Got Brandon Crawford here.
Again, man, he's a tough out. He hits that chopper up the middle. I remember looking at the first, I mean, he was getting down the line pretty quick. I had to get rid of it quick and throw it pretty hard.
2-2 on Abreu. 2 out. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the 2nd time in his Major League career, has tossed a no-hitter.
It was pretty cool seeing the guys running from the bullpen, seeing those guys, you know, seeing how happy everybody was.
That's the fastest we've seen bullpen guys.
Oh, they were getting after it, weren't they? I think a couple of them pulled some hammies. That, to me, was probably the coolest thing. I mean, seeing how happy everybody else was. You see the celebrations.
That's the thing. I mean, look at the look on the guys' faces that are coming up to you. And each and every one, you know, every guy wants to congratulate you. Was it the same reaction from family and friends? Did your phone light up?
Oh, yeah, they were pumped up. It was cool. That's
probably the best part.
That's the best part. Is hearing mom and dad.
Yeah.
You know, talking to them after the game. That was that beats everything. But to hear my parents and how happy they were, that was the best part.
Wow, back-to-back years with a no-hitter. It's always fun watching Homer talk about that. I think that's one of the key issues for this team. Let's talk about some of the make-or-break issues. Homer Bailey has to stay healthy, as does the rest of the team. They were decimated with injuries last year, weren't they?
Well, they were, and I'm not going to predict a third no-hitter in a third consecutive year, but I will say this club has to be healthy. They lost Brian Ludwig, their opening day left fielder, on opening day last year, a big power reduction without Ryan Ludwig in the lineup. They also lost Jonathan Broxton and Sean Marshall, right-handed, left-handed setup man, and they only had Johnny Cueto for not even half the season. He's their #1 starter, or he has been in the past. That's going to change.
All right, Jeff, big question is where are they going to get innings from? Because, of course, they lost Bronson Arroyo.
They did lose Arroyo. Arroyo was automatic, out there every 5th day, never missed a start, always giving his team 200 innings. A lot will be expected this year of a young left-hander by the name of Tony Cingrani. The Reds will need at least 150 innings from Cingrani, but what that does is it puts a lot of other pressure on the other 4 starting pitchers, Matt Latos, Homer Bailey, Johnny Cueto, and Mike Lee, especially Johnny Cueto coming off an injury of the last couple of years.
All right, let's make some predictions now, and my prediction is this. Jay Bruce becomes a superstar this year. This is the year he finally puts it all together and has a fantastic season.
Well, Jay, in order for Jay Bruce to have that kind of year, he's got to have someone in front of him getting on base. My prediction is that Billy Hamilton makes that kind of year where everybody is creating havoc on the defensive side.
That's going to be a lot of fun. All right, let's take a look now at the projected opening day lineup.
Leading off for the Reds, rookie speedster Billy Hamilton. He'll be playing center field. In the #2 spot, Gold Glove winner, coming back from a left wrist injury last year, that'll be Brandon Phillips at second base. Hitting in the #3 spot is Joey Votto, who I believe is the Reds' best hitter playing first base. Cleanup spot this year, back-to-back lefties, Jay Bruce in right field. Batting 5th and every once in a while in the #4 spot against tough left-handers will be Ryan Ludwig. He'll be in left field. Batting 6th, the third baseman, Todd Frazier. A lot will be expected from Frazier this year, batting in that #6 spot. #7 and catching every day, that'll be Devin Mesoraco. That's a first for Mesoraco on an everyday basis. At shortstop, Zach Kozar. I believe he's a Gold Glove shortstop, hitting in the 8th spot.
All right, Jeff, one-word answers to summarize the keys to the Reds' success this season.
Health, Hamilton, production, especially from the bottom of the Reds' order. That's the keys to their success.
All right, let's hope so. And we hope that you have learned something about the Cincinnati Reds on the Cincinnati Reds 2014 season preview. For Jeff Brantley, I'm Jeff Piecoro. Thanks for watching.